Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back, Maverick family. Welcome new viewers from all over the world. Great to have you back here on the Maverick News channel. Tonight, we bring you an extraordinary interview, a conversation that explores the depths of human tragedy, resilience, and the unyielding pursuit of justice. I'm your host, Rick Walker, and this is a special edition of Maverick News. We'll get to the regular news of the day in a moment, but first, this. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
In the annals of unthinkable crimes, one case stands out, leaving an indelible mark on the conscience of a nation. Tonight, we have the privilege of sitting down with Rodney Stafford, the father of Tori Stafford, a young 8-year-old angel whose life was abruptly extinguished forever, changing the lives of those left behind. Nearly a decade has passed since Tori's disappearance shocked the very core of Canada. In fact, more than a decade. The collective hope for her safe return, united communities rallying around a symbol of innocence lost. But as the days turned into months and the months into years, the painful truth emerged, shattering the hopes that once held steadfast. Rodney Stafford, a father thrust into unimaginable sorrow, has become a beacon of strength and an unwavering advocate for justice. Tonight, we explore the depths of his heartbreak, the resilience that has carried him through the darkest of times, and his tireless pursuit to ensure that his daughter's memory lives on. The story of Tori Stafford transcends mere headlines. It is a story of a father's unwavering love, a nation's collective grief, and a quest for justice that knows no bounds. Rodney Stafford's voice echoes in the halls of power, demanding change and shining a light on the flaws within a system tasked with safeguarding its citizens. In this rare interview, we bear witness to the unwavering resolve of a father who has turned his personal tragedy into a crusade, fighting for a society where no child's life is cut short and no family is left to suffer the unimaginable anguish that has befallen his own. Join us now as we sit down with Rodney Stafford, a man whose love for his daughter transcends time, as he shares his grief, his hopes, and the relentless pursuit of justice for Tori. Mr. Stafford, it's a privilege to have you on the program, and I think this is probably one of the most important broadcasts we've ever taken on, and I'm so grateful for you tonight to come on and share your story with us and the world.
No problem.
So where should we begin, I guess, is the question. I mean, one of the reasons we're having you join us tonight is because, as we found out this week, Paul Bernardo was moved to a medium security, or is being moved to a medium security facility. Of course, that's a totally different crime. But I know that in your case, one of the two people involved in the murder of your daughter was moved to a medium security facility, and the other person, the woman involved, was moved to a healing lodge. Both of them, though, sentenced as well to 25-year sentences in what were supposed to be maximum security facilities. You want to speak first of all to that part of the justice system, because that's right up front and center, and then we'll backtrack and kind of get some of the other information from you.
Yeah, sure. Like when it comes to the inmates or the offenders having to go into maximum security, when we go through the trial and the courts and everything, we're the victims' families. We're under the assumption, like that's basically going to be the end of it until the sentence is done. So no, the biggest problem now is that the government has made changes to legislation so that what they're doing is trying to push out inmates as quickly as possible for a quicker turnaround. There's more money in it for them. So what they're doing is, after a certain length of time, they're dropping inmates from maximum security to medium to help push them out faster. So like families such as mine and other families out there, we get to suffer knowing that basically we go into the courts fighting for our children's rights, our family members' rights, and we basically get walked on because whatever happens in the courts doesn't stick with Corrections Canada. Corrections Canada basically just looks at it and says, okay, well, you got 25 max, but what we're going to do is we're going to help you out, and we're going to get you out quicker. So like nothing that happens in their courts applies after the fact. And people just don't know it until they become a part of the system and they're having to fight.
And they'd never informed you adequately to let you know that these transfers were happening either. I mean, you had to sort of stay in, actively try to stay in the loop and request information. Isn't that right?
Well, what had happened was with Terry Lynn, she had been transferred in December of 2017. In August of 2018, I had received a message from my mom saying that Corrections Canada was trying to get a hold of me, something to do with Terry Lynn. So I got a hold of them, and they told me that Terry Lynn was being escorted for medical leave, but she'd be going somewhere in Saskatchewan. And I was like, why? She's in Kitchener. And this is 8 months after the fact. And the woman I was speaking to went over the file and had notified me that Terry Lynn had been transferred to a minimum security healing lodge 8 months prior to this conversation. So that became the fight of getting her back to where she belonged, which was in a traditional prison in max security. So we did end up doing a protest on November 2nd, 2018, and November 9th of the same, 7 days later, Terry Lynn was actually removed from the healing lodge and put back to a traditional prison and brought back to Kitchener. But during that time frame, I had also found out that Michael Rafferty had also been dropped to medium, and Terry Lynn only went back to medium. So both of them are nowhere near where they're supposed to be in the penal system.
And just so people can follow what we're talking about, let's just go back and give people some of the history here. So it was on April 8th of 2009, when your daughter, Victoria Elizabeth Marie, Tori Stafford, 8 years old, was abducted and then sexually assaulted, raped, and murdered by Terry Lynn McClintock and Michael Rafferty. Her body later found it took about 3 months for the body to be recovered. And the story that unfolded in the courts, it took some time for that to come out too, because there were publication bans. I think it took at least a year before the public even became aware of a lot of the details surrounding what happened with Terry Lynn McClintock.
Yeah, they had to hold them back because they tried the two separately. Terry Lynn pled guilty, so she pled out, and so yeah, they had to withhold some information in order to proceed with Rafferty's trial.
And the thing about Terry Lynn McClintock is she was clearly, from her admissions, an active participant in the killing. She said that she actually inflicted the fatal blows at one point, as I understand it. And yet they put her into a healing lodge. So your daughter can you explain kind of what happened to your daughter and give people kind of more context?
Okay, well, on April 8th, Victoria was abducted. taken from Woodstock, driven to Mount Forest. And for a length of time, she was sexually assaulted by Michael Rafferty. And then eventually one of them, you can't tell, nobody else was there. So like, we don't know if he did it or if she did it, but one of them gave Victoria 4 blows to the head with a hammer and smashed her skull into 25 pieces. 16 of her ribs were broken from stomping on her. She had a laceration on her liver. There was actually pieces of her liver found in her lungs. So whether it was a hammer blow or not, over a length of time, Victoria would have passed anyways.
I have trouble just even listening to it, and I can't imagine the grief that you've gone through, and yet you fight on. I mean, you're working now. Tell people how you are today, trying to keep your daughter's memory alive, and what you're doing to try to do something constructive.
Well, majority of the time I'll tell people I'm good, I'm fine, things are great. But like, here I am right now, sitting back holding emotions because it's not right. Like, my life's been destroyed. Like, like, it affects my life, right? It affects a lot of family members, community members, friends, but they all have the opportunity to turn it off, where, in a sense, more of a way to turn it off than I can, right? Because it was my little girl. And so communication with a lot of people has diminished just because it always ends up becoming conversation about Victoria. Like, not that I want it to, but that's usually where it ends up. And then distance grows between people. Mentally, it's up and down. For the most part, it's good times, but like, I can get extremely emotional just off a song, off of some words somebody reminded me Victoria said, or something that Victoria did. It's just small things. Like, one day I'll be walking around and, like, I'll be out and about and see a garbage bag laying at the side of the road. One day it'll affect me and one day it won't. Like, I don't know when it's going to hit. Like, but what I've done is ever since the transfer of Terry Lynn, I've tried to stay focused on what's important, and that's Victoria's rights. Now that she's gone, just because she's gone doesn't mean as a Canadian citizen she doesn't have a right anymore. And currently, right now, because of our government, the changes they're making, Victoria's grave might as well be pissed on every day, and so many others. Like, they're not doing anything to help victims.
What would your direct message to the Prime Minister and the Premier of Ontario be tonight? What would you like them to hear?
Resign and put people in power who care about the country. Everybody in this country is tired of being walked on, being treated like dirt. Even when it comes to taxes, it comes to healthcare, COVID, everything. There's so many lies. The deception is unreal. And to go back to the first time I met the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, it was October 3rd, 2018. I shook the guy's hand in his office. He sat there telling me he was going to support me, my family, my fellow country, my fellow Canadians by supporting Victoria. Only 2 hours later did they hold a vote in the House of Commons denying the removal of Terry Lynn from the Healing Lodge. Like, that couldn't have been any more of a slap in the face. So right from that point in time, or from that time on, I've made it a mission to make sure that people know, like, just you might be sitting in the background by yourself wondering, like, what do I do? And you're heartbroken and whatnot. But there's so many people out there, and if we all come together, we can end this issue. We really can. It's just a matter of voices coming together. And I've been trying to say it for a length of time. And because there's so many different issues out there. Mine's to do with Victoria and Michael Rafferty and the sexual assault and murder, but then there's also murders of like domestic violence, and there's also murders of small children in the womb, and like there's so many different aspects out there of like the different types of murder, different types of like crime that all have to come together as one solid unit and make some changes.
So one of the things that that I know has been on the table is this Tori's law. Can you explain what that is about?
Well, what we would like is for Tori's law to be, you know, like life means life. If a perpetrator, Michael Rafferty, for instance, he took Victoria's life. He was found guilty by the courts, was found guilty in his appeal, wasn't given the appeal. This man should be sentenced to life. If he receives life, life should be life. The man should die behind bars. There's not one inkling of a chance that my little girl will ever be able to leave that box that's laying under the ground. So why the, excuse my language, would he be able to even apply to become a part of society again when my daughter will never be?
Obviously, the system, in your view, is not just flawed, but broken.
And very broken, very broken. And the people that are in charge don't want to do anything about it. They don't.
Why do you think that is? Is it political ideology, or do you have any clue?
I don't know. I don't know where the country's going. Like when it comes to this, like it's just like everything in Ottawa. It's like the mentality of our politicians has all just been shut right off. It's not like it's about the Canadian anymore. And it's very heartbreaking.
So are they still in just medium security facilities, the two of them now?
Yes, they both are. They're both in medium.
Yeah. And this is a picture of your daughter when she was, I guess in this photograph, she was 8 at this time, or approximately?
Approximately 8, yes. So
Yeah.
yeah, about 7.5, 8.
I mean, she just beautiful, and
She was.
and she and,
Vibrant
and this,
little- Sorry.
yeah. And this year she would have been what, about 23, 24 years old?
23 this year. So we've missed her graduation, the possibility of me having a grandchild, the possibility of me walking her down the aisle, the possibility of, you know, just her being able to take off with her friends and travel. It's all lost. It's all lost. But the government is pushing to help make sure that the people responsible for this are able to get out and have a life.
Can you tell people more about your daughter so they can kind of understand who she was, so that they see her, you know, as the person, the girl that she was?
Anybody who ever met Tori would know that Victoria was a very kind-hearted little girl. She would be a part of anybody's life. Everybody was a friend for the most part. She was like a little tomboy. One day she'd be wearing a dress, the next day she'd be wearing that same dress in the mud. She was like a little mother hen with all of her friends at school. Anybody who needed assistance with anything, she was always right there. I've got a little book here somewhere that's got about 25 little stories that her friends had written after she had been found. Just explaining who she was and what kind of friend she was and how much she'd be dearly missed. And that's not just from her friends, that's from the community. There was a lot of people in the community of Woodstock that knew Victoria, got to know her, and loved her. She was a very vibrant little girl.
What about the rest of your family? How do they cope with this?
I don't know. We're all pretty distant. Well, I am anyways. And I don't know. I don't know how they do. I know they're all doing well. But yeah, I get the odd message periodically how I'm doing, and it sucks. Like family life's not the same as it used to be at all.
So it's put strain on your family relations.
All my family relations, my friendships, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Our friend Leo is the person who sort of connected us, and he said that I should ask you about this bike ride across the country for Tori. What's that about?
2009, I I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I was just sitting there one day and I made the suggestion of doing a bike ride. So I thought, well, I'd like to bike from Woodstock to Edmonton and go out to Jasper and release a balloon off one of the mountains as my way of saying goodbye to Tori. So on April 5th of 2000, or not April 5th, I'm sorry, August 5th of 2009, I set off from Woodstock and I did a 44-day bike ride. I was on the bike for 33 days, but I did 44 days of the journey out to Edmonton. I finished up at West Edmonton Mall on September 19th, and we ended up driving the remainder of the way out to the mountain in Jasper, went up the tramway, and I went up and released the balloon and screamed my daughter's name. But at the same time, I did it all. It was for child find, and along the way, donations went into child find. I did different events, and I think in total, the amount, I think it was we raised just over. I handed over. The account was at 42,000 and change, and then an additional, I believe, close to 50,000 or 60,000 went into child find from various locations. So we also raised almost $100,000 for child find as well.
Right. A lot of our viewers are in the United States. Many on both sides of the border may not be familiar with the Child Find organization. Can you enlighten people?
Basically what it was, they were one of the first people to reach out to me when Victoria went missing. It's just an organization that helps in aiding finding missing children. You probably see their pictures like in the Walmarts and stuff like that. They're great people, and I haven't really been in touch with many of them in the past years, but they're still growing strong, different locations. And
yeah, I think they're the organization, I think, that puts the pictures of missing children on the backs of transport trucks. Isn't that correct?
Yes, it is correct.
Yeah. So they're doing some pretty good work out there.
They are, and they are aiding and bringing some children home. So that's good. They also have like the cyber network where they're also searching cyber predators, and I believe they're doing quite well.
And I guess just the fact that we're having this conversation about child find and about your personal experience shows that there is a greater overall problem in our society. Can I get you to speak to that?
In what sense? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, with missing children being abducted, sexually assaulted, it seems like there's a larger societal problem.
It's a very big society problem in society right now. And especially when the government is making it a revolving door system. Majority of the incidents that are happening now are by perpetrators that should be in lockup. They should be in an institution as it is, but they've already been released. So society, like everybody's saying, well, what are the cops doing about it? What are the cops doing about it? They're doing all they can, to be quite honest, because they're having to deal with the same bullshit people every day, over and over and over and over. Same with the courts, over and over and over. It's tying everything right up, and it's slowly making Canada fail.
Yeah. Repeat customers through the legal system. Even tonight, though, I just happened to see this before we came on the air. Wall Street Journal did a story today about Twitter saying that the platform, and I mean, they're obviously trying to attack Twitter, but they're saying that it's being used to connect, or it's being used as a platform to connect pedophiles. And Elon Musk responding tonight saying it's extremely concerning, but I thought maybe I'd get you to even just comment on that. I guess that also shows the depth of the problem.
Well, the problem's huge. Like You can find, there's so much information available out there to people if they just search for it. Like you can talk till you're blue in the face about some things and people just won't listen. But the information is out there. You just have to look for it.
Do you think that this is a symptom of a problem, or is this a manifestation of our country, our societies losing
No,
our moral compass, our grounding maybe in religion, or what? I don't know. What do you think?
in my opinion, it's a lack of justice and mental illness and full mental illness. The cross between the two of those and what's going on in today's society, people, here, take this, go back out on the street. Here, take this, go back out on the street. Nobody is being held to help make the changes in their lives to not be the way they are anymore. And yeah, society's just become really messed up.
And so when you're saying that, I think if I understand you correctly, you're critical of this approach where if someone has mental health issues, the approach generally seems to be these days, here's a pill, hope you feel better.
Yes, and they're not doing anything about helping people get the assistance they need. Sure, certain provinces, are putting out free drugs and whatever. Here, this will help you out, right? But it's not doing anything for helping rehabilitate these people. We need to be rehabilitating the people that are out on the streets, like our veterans, like our homeless, and we need to be rehabilitating all these people, not the people that are wiping people from society that should be rotting in a fucking box in the ground. Excuse my language.
Yeah. Yeah, the policies we've seen have been very, in the last few decades have shifted toward integrating people back into society, and the emphasis clearly has been on the welfare of the perpetrator, not the victims. And when I say victims, I also mean the families of victims as well, like yourself. And then these social problems, because these people are just basically being thrown out onto the street. Police are being tasked with the responsibility of dealing with these social problems that it's not really so much a law enforcement issue. They're making social issues part of the law enforcement task, I guess. Is that fair?
Well, yeah, it's police are and the courts are having to like I said, they're having to deal with the same people over and over and over again. So like it's when certain issues come into the courts, everything's all tied up. So nothing's getting resolved. Nothing, like the only thing I see being resolved right now is people's children being taken away because people are having a hard time feeding their families. They're having a hard time coping with the lies of COVID. They're having a hard time dealing with the separation and division that's being created in our country. And there's a lot of people that their mouths are just, a lot of people want to open their mouths, but they don't know what to say. And we just need to keep talking and keep trying to make these changes.
And another question that Leo suggested I ask you is, he said to ask you about youth on youth crime and violence.
Youth on youth.
Well, I mean, because I guess the age of the people who went to jail for what they did to your daughter, they weren't very old. And so I guess I don't know exactly what he was getting at there, but I thought that there might be some, relevance or specificity in the reason that he asked me to ask you that question.
Well, I don't know about youth on youth, like crime itself. Like so a lot of that just comes down to teenage, like bad choices and, just
well, maybe I'll just ask you specifically, if you could change the laws, what would, and the sentencing, the kind of sentences that are handed down, what specifically would you like to see done? I mean, are you in favor of, I kind of heard you say it, are you in favor of bringing back capital punishment, for instance?
I would be 100% behind it for sure. bring back capital punishment. If somebody like this right here, perfectly, Michael Rafferty, Terry Lynn, excuse me, it does not matter if they proved who did it. They proved, for a matter of fact, they were both there. Both were complicit with it, part of it. They proven fact, 100%. They did it. In this case, yes, bring back capital punishment. There's no reason for them to be sitting back while we all still suffer, and they get to live their life and make the changes that majority of us would like to do.
So in the case of your daughter, it was Terry Lynn McClintock, the young woman, young at the time, who led your daughter away. She's the one who abducted your daughter and then basically presented your daughter to Rafferty. What was the motivation behind all of that? What came out of the evidence?
From what I understand, it was supposed to have been just a random grab, so they say. And Terry Lynn just wanted to show Victoria a puppy in the back of the car, to my understanding, that we've come to learn. But there's so much out there that never reached the courts that would kind of make people's heads, like, what? Okay, wait, what? But it never got to the courts. There was a lot of witnesses dropped. There was a lot of audio. There was audio recordings that would have proven different evidence and stuff like that. But a lot of it wasn't admissible, or not admissible. It wasn't used. And a lot of things changed with the original investigation once it went from Woodstock jurisdiction into OPP, and OPP took over. A lot of changes made, and a lot of the vision that was heading in certain direction by police was wiped out and forgotten about.
So through all of your advocacy, some changes, I guess, have already started to unfold. What positive things have come out of your advocacy work so far?
Oh, gee. Honestly, I'm having a brain fart moment right now. While I was on the bike ride in 2009, I know criteria for the Amber Alert was changed because of what had happened. The Amber Alert for Victoria was 15 days before an Amber Alert was posted.
15 days.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of media criticism, focused on police for not getting that out sooner.
Yeah, and I tried to say, like with that, like Victoria was 8. Okay, it's not like her and her friends after school said, like let's piss off to Vegas for a couple days. Like she was 8. She was missing. I didn't know where she was. Her family didn't know where she was. Her mom didn't know where she was. That should have been good enough. But at the time, there was certain criteria that had to be met, and it wasn't met. So they did make some changes there. I know there's been, we did the protest November 2nd, 2018 to have Terry Lynn put back to prison, traditional prison. A lot of it's just bringing people together. Not so much that there's been changes made, but I've helped bring a lot of people together, and we've been able to bring a lot more voices together in trying to make changes.
Yeah. What would you like your daughter's legacy to be? How would you like people to remember her, or what would you like to see come out of all of this in her name?
In Victoria's name, I would just like people to know, and her legacy be that, she was here, she was a Canadian, she had rights, and her legacy will be me fighting for those rights and others as well in her name.
Yeah. And I guess today, seeing what happened with Paul Bernardo, or what is happening with Paul Bernardo, and what we saw even with Carla Homolka, in the early days of all that trial. I mean, that was a joke too.
Yeah.
For her to be, released the way that she was, I that blew my mind. This must enrage you.
It does. It does, because it's it's been a length of time for me, like a little bit since it's happened with Victoria. But to know that so many other families are going through something that I've been through, like literally what the what the families are going through right now is what we protested on Parliament Hill on April 8th of 2019. We went back. We were trying to protest Michael Rafferty's transfer. But from that time on, and I believe there was a media silence, and a lot of stuff just wasn't being talked about. Communication wasn't there with media anymore. Media just wasn't bringing out the stories about Canadians that mattered anymore, and a lot of stuff was hidden.
Well, is there anything else tonight that you would like to add, or that you'd like to draw attention to, that you think we might have missed?
Really, I would just like to put out there that, a lot of people do need support, whether it seems like it or not. We do need support, whether it be just an ear to talk to, somebody to help get through a day or whatnot. Just don't be afraid to continue to talk to your loved ones or your friends. I just don't it sucks, man. There's so many feelings involved with everything, and I just don't want anybody else to get to this point when it can be avoided.
If at any time there's anything we can do with this platform in the future, if there's a message that you need to get out, we of course will always make this available to you. That's what this channel is. It was resurrected for. This is why we put it back up. And I'm so grateful to you tonight for sharing this story, this information, for bringing truth to light. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you to Leo for making this possible.
Yeah, thank you, Leo, from me as well. And Mr. Stafford, it's been a privilege, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, that's I'll be right back. Stay with me.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
I'm back, and in about 20 minutes, Canada's leader of the Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre, will stand up in the House of Commons, and he will start speaking, apparently, in what is going to be a very unusual situation. He's going to filibuster. He's going to continue to speak and speak and speak and speak and speak in an effort to block Justin Trudeau's new NDP-supported budget. Here's a clip from Pierre Poilievre. We'll cue this up here, and give you a taste of what is about to come in the House of Commons tonight.
Conservatives are fighting back. We have announced that we are going to use every parliamentary tool in our toolkit to block this disastrous, risky, and inflationary budget from passing until the Prime Minister makes the commitment to balance the budget in order to bring down inflation and interest rates. And today I am announcing that I will be on my feet at roughly 7 p.m. to stand up against this budget, and I will keep speaking and keep blocking this inflationary train wreck until the Prime Minister rises with a plan to balance the budget and bring down inflation and interest rates.
So, who remembers the movie? What was it? Mr. Smith Goes to Washington with Jimmy Stewart. Looks like we're going to get a Canadian version of that starting, now in about 18 minutes in the House of Commons in Ottawa. I will do my best to tap into the feed and we'll pick up bits and pieces of that starting at 7 p.m. tonight. So don't go away. We're going to have that for you. What else do we have to talk about between now and then? Well, I guess wildfires. Yes, the wildfire situation still top of mind for mainstream media tonight. And it's making not just headlines across Canada, but across the United States as well. And we're getting a lot of theories about why this has started and a lot of speculation. And I would say that people on various political sides are trying to make gains with this event, with this story, with the narrative that they're spinning up around it on either side. First off tonight, Stephen Guilbeault, Canada's Minister of Climate Change and Environment, or is it Environment and Climate Change? Either way, this is his take on the situation. Let me just bring up Mr. Guilbeault. Here we are.
Thank you for the
Those
question.
pesky conservatives who are to blame.
Somewhat unbelievable that as Canada is going through what will likely be the worst year in our country's history in terms of forest fires, and that we know that part of this is because of climate change, and that we collectively, certainly in Canada and around the world, need to do more and accelerate the fight against climate change. The only answer that the Conservative leader has is, let's make pollution free again. Let's do less to fight climate change. I find it unconscionable. Thank you for the question. It is...
And last night I ran the clip from the leader of the New Democratic Party of Canada, Jagmeet Singh, who also, of course, both of them being basically neoliberals, ideologically and woke, that, of course, climate change is to blame for all of it. That climate change is the reason for all of this, or at least for a lot of it, as Stephen Guilbeault says. I've been telling you for a long time, though, that the lunatics are running the asylum. And I would say that when it comes to environmental issues, Stephen Guilbeault is about as radicalized as they come. This is a guy who, before becoming the environment minister, before being elected to public office, scaled the side of the CN Tower to unfurl a Greenpeace banner. These people have an agenda. They, of course, are going to capitalize on these wildfires because they're pushing the climate change agenda. This is a perfect opportunity for them to point a finger and say, see, look, the forests are spontaneously combusting. I don't know what started these fires. I do know this. I understand media and I understand politics. And I know when stories or events are being exploited for political gain. That's what Stephen Guilbeault is doing tonight. And that's what people on other sides of the political spectrum are doing as well. And the one tool that people on all sides of the political spectrum make use of very effectively is the tool of fear, scaring everyone and pointing the finger and blaming their political adversaries. And this is, something else that is making the rounds. There's a video that goes with this. I'm not going to play the video, but I will show you this document. Vietnam War forest fire is a military weapon. A June 1970 report of study commissioned by the Department of Defense. And of course, this is in the United States, and this here, geoengineeringwatch.org, that's an organization. That's not the government. They've pulled this old strategic study or strategy paper for the military. And people are circulating this on the other side. And again, I don't know what started these fires other than I know statistically, and I've shown you the stats, that about 60% of all wildfires are caused by people for a variety of reasons. That's a statistical fact in any given year, between 50 and 60% consistently. That's campfires not extinguished properly, cigarette butts thrown out the sides of, out of car windows, sparks from train brakes, just careless use of fire, exhaust on dry grass from cars igniting grass, setting the grass on fire. A whole host of reasons. Sometimes it's natural. Sometimes it is lightning strikes. Sometimes it's other things. And once one fire starts, sometimes it's the embers that drift through the air and land, sometimes even miles away, that start a fire in another location. So one fire starts another fire. These fires start for a wide range of reasons. Of course, the people distributing this paper from 1970 at the time, of course, they're trying to point their finger and say that it's the government starting these fires. But a paper like this, and I've read this and I was aware of it before, I mentioned this before, forest fire as a military weapon. U.S. Department of Agriculture, Forest Service, this was, at the time, top secret. But what is this really about? Well, if you read it, look, here it is right here. Viet Cong forest bases. This was developed as a plan to deal with the war in Vietnam. You see, during Vietnam, the enemy, the communists, they were fighting with, guns and weapons, but they didn't have the firepower that the U.S. had. So they would, being smart, they would hide in the jungle. And they would use the jungle for cover. And it was a big problem for the U.S. military. They didn't really know exactly how to deal with it. And it neutered the U.S. military in many ways, because they would walk into ambushes and they didn't know the terrain like the Vietnamese did. So the U.S. government was trying to develop ways to deal with that strategically. One of the strategies they came up with was possibly to use forest fires, and you're seeing that plan right here. Ultimately, what the United States military did is they used Agent Orange. If you don't know what Agent Orange was, it was a vegetation killer, a chemical that they would spray aerially from the air at low altitudes, not like chemtrails, but they would fly in at low altitude and spray Agent Orange over areas, and it would very quickly take all the greenery away, all the leaves off the trees, kill all the vegetation, leaving the area wide open and exposed so that the enemy had no place to hide, and then they could mow them down with their weapons, including things like napalm, machine guns, whatever weapons they happened to want to use. So they looked at burning them out. They ended up using a lot of Agent Orange, is what they ended up doing. And that was a disaster in itself because it was an environmental disaster. A lot of US soldiers who were exposed to Agent Orange got very, very sick. A lot of people died from cancer as a result of that. The people that were sprayed in those areas as well, exposed to the Agent Orange. It was very toxic. And people on both sides ended up getting sick in the end and dying. But to share this around as though it's like people are presenting this to me, I've received this from so many people who are saying, see, that's the proof. There you go. This was all planned well in advance. The government's doing it. That's not proof of anything. This isn't the Canadian government. This is the US government. This is also about Vietnam, a plan developed specifically during that era, obviously with that objective specifically in mind, although this could be applied in other areas or in other forested areas. And it's very specific. It's a very detailed thing about how it could be done. And I'm not saying the government has never done this, but they're using this. This was to be used in as part of actual kinetic warfare. I'm sorry, but I'm drawing your attention to it because so many people have sent it to me, and I'm just going to be straight up with you. It is what it is. It's not proof of the government starting these fires. We do know. I'm trying to deal in facts. I don't know what I don't know, and either do you. Either do police until they do a proper investigation. And people say, well, I've been investigating. No, man. A lot of people just go watch videos or people send them stuff and they just, oh, yep, there you go. Like Stu Peters yesterday sharing that video on Twitter of the helicopter doing the prescribed burn, saying, see, government starting all the fires. I'm sorry, man, but that's just scaring people on the other side. And then I see this from David Icke. And I mean, okay, he doesn't actually reach any conclusions, but he tonight, prominent media figure, and what's he saying here tonight? Let me bring it up. There it is. Fair enough, you can ask these questions, but 2 questions. Who benefits? Who started them? New York landmarks blanketed in smoke from Canadian wildfires, sparking code red warning. And in this article, he says New Yorkers were back in masks on Tuesday as thick smoke originating from Canadian wildfires to the north descended on the city. Pictures showed an orange glow hanging above New York City as the sun set, concealing iconic structures like the Empire State Building and Statue of Liberty. Air quality levels throughout the city were very unhealthy. And yes, I know. And record smog levels in the Northeast, yes. And you can see that these areas highlighted in purple are the worst, and that's right in New York City, but that's combined with their own pollution too. And unhealthy is this big red area all the way from Boston up through Albany over into the Detroit area. And yeah, I could see some haze in the air here today as well, where I live, and I'm only about an hour from Detroit. But as for who started them, I don't know. But you could make an argument in any direction on that if you just want to speculate. See, the government is saying that it's all climate change, or that that's the main reason. We need more climate change initiatives. We need to stop having people drive their cars. That's the reason why. And if you are a neoliberal and you buy into that whole narrative, then of course you're all in on that, because there is a religion that surrounds all of that, isn't there? Or if you want to buy in on the other side, that the government started all these because they're interested in what? Depopulating the planet. And I'm not exactly sure what the objective of the government might be, but I can just as easily sit here and say that these fires might be started by people in the freedom movement because they want to destabilize the government, and some of the radicalized people from other marginalized fringy groups or whatever. They have the most to gain, because by having all these fires started, they can blame the government. Or I could say that it's environmental activists who, as much as they love their trees and love to hug them, are quite content to set them on fire because they really need to drive the point of climate change home. And I wouldn't put it past somebody like Stephen Guilbeault to do something like that, honestly, because I think he's radicalized enough to do it. But the reality is, I don't know. I just don't know. I just know that yesterday we did see that there was a woman out in Alberta who was charged with starting 16 of them. A woman. Why? I do not know what the motivation behind those actions might have been, and she has not yet been convicted in court. We'll have to see what happens when she has her day in a court of law and when the facts come out. And we just don't know until these investigations are complete. I just know that we have a lot of fires going on right now. I also know that when it comes to media, the way it works is that everything gets ramped up. The mainstream media is loving this right now, including the media in the United States, because they're latched onto this now too. This is clickbait for them. This is a big ratings booster. So they're playing it up as much as they possibly can. They're engaging in the fear porn too, because it gets ratings for them. It's just like every snowstorm that ever came through. Well, I was a mainstream media reporter. They would ramp it up. It was always the biggest snowstorm ever, the biggest one since the last big one. And they do it with hurricanes, tornadoes, and around and around in a circle we go. And they tell everybody, as soon as they see a snowstorm coming, it's like, better stay home. And sometimes they are big snowstorms. Sometimes they don't even pan out. But they sure do their best to scare the living crap out of you while they have the story up in front. And that's what they're doing with this one too. And that makes it very hard for me to even sometimes gauge the depth of the seriousness of some stories, because they cry wolf. So I just say, try to keep calm, keep a level head, try to assess things as objectively as you possibly can, question all of the stories and narratives that come your way, try to deal just in facts. Don't speculate too much, because that will lead you down rabbit holes to places where your head will turn to mush very quickly. And the truth will come out over time. They will investigate these fires. And, I guess everybody's free to believe whatever they want to believe. But if you make assumptions, if you connect dots that ought not be connected, if you even connect one dot to another dot, then it's an incorrect connection. It leads you down a path that's completely erroneous. If you're truly investigating something or truly thinking critically, you can't do that. You can't just jump to conclusions, because it will inevitably lead you astray. And that will bake your brain faster than anything, because you'll come to incorrect conclusions. And don't think emotionally when it comes to this stuff either. We will get through this, folks. The fires will be extinguished. We're seeing every day out in Alberta in particular, they've pretty much cut the number of fires in half. They've put about half of them out now. And they're continuing to work hard at this. And the fires will persist through the remainder of the fire season, no question. And we'll see where we end up with the total number of fires at the end of the year. The other thing that happens in a situation like this is you do have firebugs out there, arsonists, people who get off on setting fires just like this. I know from personal experience, and so this is empirical evidence that I can point to as someone who's covered so many fires as a television reporter over the years, that when you get a few fires in a city, it quite often, because of the media attention that is focused on it, it triggers people who are mentally ill and are firebugs, and they go out and start setting more fires. They're called copycats. You get the same thing even sometimes with serial killings or other crimes like that, but certainly with fires, it happens a lot. Whether it's house fires, shed fires, dumpster fires, whatever kinds of fires. As soon as there's a lot of attention focused on stories like that, it brings out the firebugs. So make no mistake that I would say that, percentage of these, there's probably some likelihood that some mentally ill people are watching the news, watching all this stuff on live streams, and they're out there setting these fires because it's triggering them. And as I say, it could be climate change activists trying to accelerate the response to climate change by burning down the forest. I mean, who knows? We can speculate all day long, but I don't think it's helpful to start pointing to documents from the 1970s that honestly have nothing to do with this, as though it's some sort of smoking gun. Proof that the government, being as evil as it is, and it can be pretty evil, is responsible for all this. But no, I think we need to deal in facts. And the reason we need to make sure that we continue to deal in facts is because if you're not dealing in facts and you get caught dealing in information that is not factual, it can and will be used against you by the government to discredit you and even silence you ultimately, especially in this day and age of censorship and legal penalty. Now, if not, deplatforming on social media for spreading information that isn't true. So we need to be very careful and make sure that we deal in facts. At least that's what I'm going to do here. And I don't want to scare people any more than they're already scared. It's bad enough. I don't need to throw fuel on this fire. Stay with me. I shall return.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Fighting the Great Reset. By leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
Okay, so I'm just checking in. I'm not seeing a feed yet for Pierre Poilievre and his filibuster, so I'll keep an eye open for that. I don't know if they will provide a feed out of there or not. House of Commons, you would think that we should be able to pick up something out of there tonight, but we will see. It is now just a little after 7 p.m. No feed yet available, but I will keep an eye on it, and if we can grab one, I will certainly tap into it here on the program tonight. What else can I show you this evening? Let me just see here. I'm just going to run another little promo and then we'll come back and we'll dig into some of the other stories of the day. Hang on, I'll be right back.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so they're not done with the J6ers yet. They're still rounding people up even now. And so tonight, we are seeing actor Jay Johnston, known for Bob's Burgers character, has been arrested on Capitol riot charges. It was a comedy television show. Also known for Mr. Show with Bob and David, has been arrested on charges that he joined the J6ers at the Capitol and is being accused of confronting police officers during the January 6th incident. So he's 54 years old. He lives in Los Angeles, and he was arrested there on charges including, here's what he's charged with: civil disorder, a felony. He's expected to make his first court appearance in California, and an attorney for Johnston has not yet responded to any of the media inquiries that have been directed to him. So there is video footage, apparently, of Johnston at the Capitol. He's being accused of pushing against police and helping other J6ers in, quote, attacking officers guarding an entrance to the Capitol in a tunnel on the Lower West Terrace. This according to the FBI in an affidavit. They also accused Johnston of holding a stolen police shield over his head and passing it to other J6ers during the incident on January 6th. So they're not done going after people who were there for that protest. And we just saw the leader of the Oath Keepers sentenced to 18 years in prison. I will say this: it should serve as a warning to everyone. Be careful what you say. Be careful what you do. Keep it peaceful, folks. Don't take bait. Don't fall into traps. Don't do stupid things, or they'll come for you too. Keep it peaceful if you're going to protest. And just watch your step out there, because a lot of people still in jail from what happened on that, during that January 6th incident. And they are still a-coming, still, even today. Okay, so that gets us to 10 after 7. And I think what we're actually going to do tonight is maybe go to the phones a little bit earlier than normal, because I think I've kind of covered most of what I want to cover, even on the news side. The most important thing tonight was the interview that we did with Mr. Stafford. So let's get the phone lines cranked up and you guys can join the conversation here on this Wednesday evening, June 6th. Or actually, I guess it's June 7th tonight, 2023. Losing track of time, folks. Don't worry. I'll be right back and I'll get my head screwed on straight.
We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, no! Mr. Bugs!
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so I have the thing all set up, but there's just one little glitch with it. And just hang on. I'm going to have to rejig it one more time because it's a little screwy with the phone system. We're almost there. Hang on. Just bear with me while I get this reconnected again. Just one more thing. Hello, Mr. Producer. Yes, this is Mr. Producer. Could you please produce the phone system for me? I'd be happy to do that. Well, thank you. No problem, Mr. Walker. Thank you, Mr. Producer. And a couple more buttons to push. There we go. And I'm still having some trouble getting this off the screen. And I can't put that up on the screen and let that be seen with these numbers. And I don't know why it is not allowing me to do that. It has never done that before. Okay. I do not know why it's doing that. I can't put it up on the screen, folks, until I can fix this problem. And I can't fix the problem because it's not giving me the thing I need to fix the problem. And you don't know what I'm talking about, but I do. And I can't make this work if I can't fix that problem. And I've got a problem. I don't know what's wrong. And I'm all by myself here again tonight. Oh, there it is. Finally, it gave me what I needed to do. Okay. Finally, it popped up on the screen and gave me what I needed. Here we go. Let's get it up on the screen and go to our first caller of the night. Here we go. Finally. Hello. Go ahead.
You got the mouth of the salt, the man without a plan to master all disasters, Rick. Can you hear me all right?
I can, sir. Thank you. And thank you very much, Leo, for connecting Mr. Stafford and myself and making that interview happen here tonight. All the credit goes to you, sir.
Yeah, you know what? Rodney's a great guy. And I met him, I think, around 2019 at a vigil for, it was youth on youth violence that was going around in Windsor, all over Canada, actually. But there was vigilant for the Windsor youth, right? There was a lot of murders that year. And it was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that were doing it all right. And that's where I met him. And we became pretty tight. I can't drive past Woodstock without stopping at his house and having a coffee with him, right? So,
yeah, so that's why you wanted me to ask the question
on
about youth on youth violence. It's because you met at that conference.
Yeah.
I understand now.
Yeah, and the sad thing was it wasn't a political year, so the chief of police, no politicians came down, and then every year we have it right here in Windsor, right? But when it's a political year, the creeps all fucking come out, Rick, okay, for political gain and talk about how they're going to change this and that. Only when it's a political year. If it's a mayoral race, the mayor will come out, okay, right? But if it's not, they're nowhere to be seen, okay, and it's sickening. As for Mr. Ford yesterday saying what he was going to say, it's a federal issue. He's a provincial premier. He could say all he wants to say. It's lip service at the end of the day. Okay, and that's all it is. What's going on in Windsor right now? This is a big story that's happening. In the last 24 hours, I've been bombarded through online about Benjamin Smythe, the serial rapist. Okay. And I've been I did a street protest out front of his house where he lived on Bruce Avenue, and just let the neighbors know that who lives in this house, right? Well, they moved out to Lakeshore, Ontario, to a nice farmhouse, and it's called Gracie Acres. He owns it. They have a petting zoo for kids, free ice cream and Kool-Aid for the women. Holy Names High School just had their high school prom in his barn. They don't even know who this guy is. So the residents of Lakeshore, I'm telling you, Rick, if I showed you the messages I'm getting online, you'd go, oh my God, they're all up in arms right now, and it don't look very good for the school board.
Wow.
And that's Holy Names, right? Yes. Here you go. You got a guy who, if you read that article, viciously raped one girl and smashed her head. It looked like a pumpkin when the police found her. She almost died. He got 5 years in jail for 3 rapes, and there was a handful of other rapes that were happening against prostitutes, but since they weren't credible, those ones were dropped. He got the walk. But at the same time, and I've been doing my own little investigative reporting about the creep. Okay, we had the Jackson Park Night Stalker who was running around with a ski mask and a knife. Okay, and he was raping women, and he would wear a condom and take the condom with him so he wouldn't leave any DNA. Well, at the same time, this is when Ben Smythe was caught for the other ones, and he was in jail. It all suddenly stopped. Now, the description, obviously, he was wearing a ski mask, so they couldn't tell what he looked like, but he was a slender build man, over 6 foot tall. And guess what? Ben Smythe is that description without the ski mask, or with the ski mask. So, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And the funny thing about all that is that he only lives 6 blocks away from Jackson Park. Right? So nothing's ever come of that. But now, I'll tell you, the school board is, the Catholic school board is going to get their assholes torn open, okay, because you just had a high school prom party at a serial rapist's farm.
Wow.
So,
and I guess
the story continues.
Has the mainstream media picked up on the issue with the school board at this point?
No, and that's the funny thing about it. But my friends down there, I do have some friends that are involved with mainstream media. Doug Schmidt, Bob Belichico, CTV, Windsor Star, Jason View, CBC, all of them. They all know who I am. They've all done multiple stories, right? Especially on this one here, because, like I said, I set up the street walk out front of his house. He moved. Well, apparently we all know where he lives now, right? So I'm thinking of another street walk out front of this farm, because every weekend, if you look up Gracie Farms, okay, online, and look at the stuff that they're doing every weekend, flea markets, all kinds of crazy shit, and people don't know who this person is. Now it's his new wife that's with the business name, and I was already sent a letter from the lawyer saying cease and desist, or we're gonna hit you with defamation of character. I reported back to the lawyer, told him to blow me. It ain't defamation, it's the truth. Now, I'm not defaming anybody, plain and simple. He is a notorious rapist, so fuck off and leave me alone, because now you're harassing me, right? So the story's going to continue. Believe me, it's starting to boil over now, especially with the Bernardo and everything else that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a creep, and I'm a creep catcher. I can't stand anybody that hurts women. I can't stand anybody who hurts children, and I can't stand anybody who hurts the elderly, plain and simple. You're a punk, okay? You might have a mental illness. And there's another video coming out on the 25th of my altercation with this Ben Smythe, where I confronted him at, where was it, Home Hardware in the parking lot. And I seen him, and before he went to jail, he was clean cut. Now he looks like long hair, tattoos, biker looking, and I put it right on him. I said, Ben Smythe. I said, what's up? I said, the notorious rapist. And it goes on in the video. There's over 100,000 views and 10 minutes on this one, where I confronted him, and I asked him to go across the street for a consensual fist fight. And the last time we did this, I choked him out. Okay. And I choked until he almost went purple. But this was before he was a convicted rapist or any sex crimes even happened. If I would have known any of that was going to happen, I wouldn't have let up on the choke. Had him in the rear naked choke, and he turned purple. He was tapping like a bitch. Right. So he didn't want any part of the consensual fist fight across the street, because I was all game, and I'm still game. Right. I can't stand these people. There's only one cure for them, and you know where I'm going with it. I'm not going to say it because you're on YouTube, and that's the cure for these people. Plain and simple.
So
they got to be stopped.
Is this the story here? Is this the case? Violent rapist sentenced to 5 years in prison. Windsor father convicted of 2 violent rapes of young women he picked up on the street was sentenced Thursday to 5 years in prison. This is in 2014.
Yep, read that, Rick, for the viewers.
So starts off here, says a Windsor father convicted of 2 violent rapes of young women he picked up on the street was sentenced Thursday to 5 years. But beneath Benjamin Smythe's wholesome exterior lies a violent rapist. While assaulting one of his victims, he choked her unconscious. While raping another, he rained fists down on her face until it looked like a pumpkin. Smythe, a married father of 5, was sentenced Thursday to 5 years in prison for 2 vicious assaults in August and November of last year. So that would be 2013. In both cases, Smythe approached young women walking alone on Wyandotte Street, got them in his car, and held them captive while he forced himself on them and terrorized them with threats of death. Smythe wept Thursday as he told Ontario Court Justice Sharman Bondi how ashamed he is. Bondi told him to stop feeling sorry for himself. You have a lot of tears. I say this to you. Shed your tears for your victims. Shed your tears for your children. Shed your tears for your spouse. And last, shed tears for yourself. Smythe's wife of 14 years, with whom he has 4 children aged 18 months to 7 years, sat in court Thursday, this is, of course, in 2014, listening to the details of her husband's crimes. Court heard Smythe's wife continues to support him. In the early morning of August 25th, 2013, Smythe spotted a young woman walking alone on Wyandotte Street near Victoria Avenue. Smythe stopped his car and offered the woman a ride. She was on the phone with a friend who urged her not to get into the car, but the young woman had spent the evening at Tequila Bob's, the downtown bar, and her judgment was clouded by alcohol. Smythe drove the woman toward the West End, stopped at a community center where he urinated outside the car. The young woman called her friend again, telling her Smythe was really weird. Her friend urged her to flee, but as the young woman tried to leave the car, Smythe had returned and was grabbing her by the throat. Smythe ordered the woman to remove her shorts. When she didn't, Smythe punched her in the face, berating her, saying, "That's what you get." Sorry, this page jumped on me here. What did he say? He said, "That's what you get. That's what you get for getting in a car with a random guy," he said, before raping her vaginally and, plug your ears, folks, and anally. Every time she begged to be let go, Smythe punched her in the face. The ordeal ended with Smythe pushing the woman out of the car with a kick. They jumped again. When police arrived, the young woman's eyes were so swollen from the beating she could not see. Smythe would not have been arrested had it not been for a similar assault weeks later in November, when a prostitute on Wyandotte Street reported being attacked by a customer. Smythe, in a white Chevy Traverse, had pulled up alongside her when looking for sex. Smythe agreed to pay the woman $80 and went to a bank machine on Ouellette Avenue to withdraw the money. He then pulled into the parking lot where the woman performed oral sex on him. When the woman tried to hand him a condom for intercourse, he became aggressive and started choking her, saying, "I could end your life. I could end it all right now. I could make this the worst day of your life." The woman managed to open the door and scream for help. As she tried to flee, Smythe pulled her back into the car by the hair. He said she was, quote, "stupid for trying to get away." The woman pleaded that she had children and offered to give Smythe his money back. "I'm taking what I want," he told her, before choking her until she lost consciousness. She later told police, quote, "He looks like a soccer dad." Windsor police were able to get security footage from the automatic teller. Smythe used and determined his identity by the license plate number his victim provided. Officers tailed him and got a sample of his DNA by picking up a cigarette butt he discarded. He was arrested for the second assault. He was set free on bail, then arrested again when the DNA analysis linked him to the earlier rape. Smythe's lawyer began negotiating a plea deal. When the DNA results showed the probability that someone other than Smythe committed that crime was 1 in 370 quadrillion. The marvel of DNA evidence made Mr. Smythe's defense a tough row to hoe, said Assistant Crown Attorney Brian Manarin. But defense lawyer Elizabeth Craig called Smythe a good father whose violent episodes seemed to be triggered by alcohol and reliving of his abusive childhood. But the judge said lots of people have terrible childhoods and they don't become sexual predators. Quote, "Your sentence requires the utmost condemnation," Bondi said, giving Smythe the usual enhanced credit for time served. Awaiting sentencing, Bondi sentenced him to an additional 3 years and 10 months. Smythe will also have to pay a $400 fine that goes into a fund to support victims of crime. Bondi handed Smythe a 10-year weapons prohibition and ordered that he be placed on the National Sex Offender Registry for 20 years. "You need to be tracked," the judge said. So that was back in 2014. Of course, he's out now.
And the crazy thing about it, Rick, he was out in 36 months on parole. Okay. I got a lifetime weapons ban for a bag of weed where there was no violence committed whatsoever. Okay. I got a lifetime ban for a weapons ban for life for a bag of marijuana. That's legal today. And it was legal when I got the charge. Now, this guy violently hurts women, and you got a 10-year weapons ban. What a joke the system is. What a joke. Okay. And these judges that pass these sentences, they know damn well how the corrections works in the Parole Board of Canada. These guys are released faster than you could think. If you're sentenced to 6 years in the federal penitentiary and it's your first time in jail, Rick, there's almost a 99% chance you will be paroled in 15 months. Period.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Okay, and it's sickening. Okay, now if you're a preventable offender and they give you 2 years less a day, you have to do 2/3 of that. 2 years less a day is 18 months in prison. But if they give you the extra day, which is federal, Okay, and you get 2 years, you could be out in 6 months on parole. Right? So something's wrong with this system. It really stinks. I know where Rodney's going. It's very sad, the system that we have. Right? And by reading that, it just boils my blood to the point where, you know what, I'm going to have a protest out front of this house again. And he's going to have to move to some other community because the people of Lakeshore have had enough. If I showed you what was going on on my messaging, you'd go, Jesus, right? But like I said, there's a correlation between the Jackson Park stalker and Ben Smythe. And I know this because his brother's a rapper who, from Toronto, he's actually a good guy, okay? And he did a rap song, and in his rap talks about crazy things happen. This is how it goes in his rap. Crazy things happen in Jackson Park after dark.
Well, isn't
Right?
that
So like I said,
interesting?
looks like a duck, walks like a duck. It's probably a duck. Okay, this guy better be ducking. That's all I got to know, because he's out in Lakeshore, and there's the crazy farmers out there. Okay, and they know. Everybody knows now. The skinny's up. He's a skin hound, and he's going to get what's coming to him. You know, if I ever unfortunately come down with a terminal disease, he's on my bucket list before me, guaranteed. You know, if I was 20 years younger, I would do what I have to do, and I'd be out already a long time ago, right? But I got to weigh in the factor I'm 53 years old, and you know, if I did do something like that along the lines, I'd be 70 years old by the time I'd probably get more time for something like that, because it's vigilante and they frown upon it, the whole 9 yards, right? Then whatever. Like I said, if I ever get sick, the world, I'm going to clean up the world. I'm going to be your what would we say, Charles Bronson, Death Wish 3. That's me, baby. And that's the shit that I grew up on, right? You hurt women, you hurt children, you hurt the elderly, you're a lowlife. You don't deserve to have life, right? And it's because these judges won't give them life. What are you supposed to do? Right?
Yeah.
Sad, very sad. But with that being said, thanks, Rick. Always a pleasure being on the show. And I'm really glad that Rodney got on. He's a great guy. Like I said, I can't drive past Woodstock without thinking about him. And if I'm going to Toronto, Kitchener, wherever, anywhere past Ingersoll, past Woodstock, I stop at his place. I don't even call him. I'll call him from his parking lot and say, "Hey, look out the window." And he goes, "Shit." And he comes out. We'll go have a coffee.
I appreciate the call as always. And again, Leo, thank you very much for connecting us with Rodney tonight. It was an important interview.
And I'll keep you in the loop with the Ben Smythe shit going down.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that too.
Thanks, Rick.
Take care, my friend. And we're moving on to Matthew, all the way across the pond in England. Hello, sir. How are you tonight?
Oh, hello there. Yeah, Matthew from England. Are you allowed to show clips? Because I was going to mention Parliament again today. There was a really good speech by one of the MPs called Andy MacDonald. You allowed to show it?
Yeah, well, if I can find it.
Maybe.
If I
okay,
can
it's on parliamentlive.tv is the website.
Okay.
Yeah, parliamentlive.tv. At the top of the page, you'll see home, event guide, help and search. Click on search.
Yep.
Click on the 7th of June in the first box. It will convert to 7th of June for both boxes. And then you'll have to scroll down half a screen until you get to the House of Commons. Event starting at 11:34 a.m., ending 7:45 p.m.
So in keyword, what do I punch in?
No, you just got to search, start date.
Yep.
7th.
Yep.
And then, yeah. And then scroll on index to around 6 p.m. The name of the MP is
there it is. It finally came up.
Andy McDonald.
So there's one here that starts at 3:06, another one at 4:15. And so this will be the one here. And
no,
June 7th,
no,
2023.
House of Commons.
Yeah.
Wednesday, 7th of June, starting 11:34 a.m. End time 7:45 p.m. It's halfway down.
Okay, halfway down. 9:30, 11:37 a.m. No,
that's the description of the House of Commons. Click on the House of Commons, and then you'll have index, hopefully.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of these videos. One starts at 10 a.m. Another one starts at 10:14.
No.
10:36.
All right. Okay.
11:30,
Let me just go back.
11:34.
You've searched on start date 7th of June, end date 7th of June. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So the first one you see on the list is the Lord's Grand Committee.
Yes.
Right. So we're scrolling down until you hit the House of Commons.
Yeah. At 11:34.
11:34 a.m.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I had.
Bang. Yeah, hit that one.
Okay.
Right. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Now you see the index.
Yeah.
And it's time stamped.
Yep.
You're going to scroll down to 1758.
It doesn't go to 1758. It only goes to 12/20/57.
Well, your House of Commons tab might be different there. I do see one that says 11:34 a.m. to 12:40 p.m.
Yeah, that's
which is the one after.
Okay.
It's the one that says 11:34 a.m. to 7:45 p.m.
All right. So you want me to go to 17?
Above it.
17 what?
Yeah, 1758. And the name, if you see it, will be the name that you say.
Andy McDonald, MP.
Yes.
Here it is. Okay, I can bring that up. Hang on. Well, that was a little bit of an ordeal. I'm sorry I wasn't faster for you. But I'll bring the screen up. Here we go.
He's a good politician.
Sorry, folks, bear with me. This is turning into a technical thing. It's difficult to do this with the phone system on. Hang on, still working on it. I hope I don't lose the people. Hang on. I'll tell you what, I'll take a break and I'll come back and I'll have it working when we return after this.
Hello?
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Still working on it. Hang on.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others.
Grew up. and he's under
rabbit
massive
holes.
pressure
We are maverick
from
thinkers.
evil
We are all
property
unique
developers.
individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, we're in business now. Here we go. Here's the clip.
Portion that reside in the Tees Valley.
Awesome.
And that was under 8 minutes, so thank you. Andy MacDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Much of the debate has been targeted at me, and there's been a request for details of allegations. I trust I'll be given the opportunity to set those out. I am grateful to my colleagues on the front bench for giving this issue such prominence today. And I want to start by paying particular tribute to Richard Brooks of Private Eye. Without his amazing forensic tenacity and persistent investigative journalism over many
If you want to
months,
pause, I
we
can
would not
explain a
have
bit
this
more.
debate today. And similarly, Jen Williams of the Financial.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a regeneration project in the Tyneside, hundreds of millions of pounds of government money. There was a steel mill there that collapsed, and the mayor of the region realised with his buddies that he could sell the scrap metal and use government subsidies to do it and regenerate the land by getting it for £1 an acre. That's it.
Okay, should I continue to run the clip then?
Yeah. Go.
Come on, play. It's not playing. Here we go.
But parental involvement is paramount.
It's got screwed up.
About the
Is it 17? I got to cue it up again. I'm sorry, folks.
Over 18 months, peaked in September 21 at
It's a government
125,000.
website. It was made by the lowest
They could have talked
bidder.
about stopping small boats compared to last year, crossing to down 20%.
Is this
Have they
it?
chosen any of these or talked about
Matthew,
any of
I'm
their
sorry,
own-
but I this is too much. I'm one guy trying to produce the show, so I really apologize, but I can't do this on the fly to this degree.
That's okay. That's perfectly okay. I know. We just probably wasted 10 minutes.
Yeah,
but the point was that he was being attacked by the Conservative Party because he revealed that the whole thing was a scam. And the tiny bit that you saw, he did mention Private Eye and the Financial Times, who both reported on the story that he was acquiring land on the cheap.
I got you. Oops.
Yeah, it was. It's pretty awful because the whole point of the Conservative government for the last 13 years was talking about regeneration and leveling up. I'm sure you've heard that phrase.
Yeah.
And it appears that the devolved mayors of the cities, if they're in for a second term, when they get in, they realise, right now it's my time to steal as much as is humanly possible, and I will be covered by the government as long as I provide backhanders.
I got you. Well, thank you for bringing that to
Anyway,
our attention.
I'll just leave it at that. The only reason I wanted you to watch the speech was because there are good men left in Parliament. It's not totally, even though he hasn't spoken up against the Ukraine war or COVID. On this issue, at least, he was so, it hit him in the heart. And he was threatened by a dozen other ministers if he repeated his statement outside of Parliament, where he obviously has the freedom to say what he wants. He would be arrested. And
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate you drawing our attention to that. And it's good to know that there are at least still a couple of people out there, a couple of politicians who are trying to do things right.
yeah, I'll try and find a shorter clip next time. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank
Cheers.
you,
Goodbye.
Matthew. Yeah, and feel free in advance, if there's stuff you want to share on the show like that, you can send me links or whatever by email or even on
That
Facebook.
is the more sensible thing to do. Yes.
And then I
Okay.
can put
Goodbye.
it into the mix and have it ready to go. So again, I apologize, folks, for not being more proficient with the technical side here tonight. Let's move on now, and we will talk to Pam. Hello, how are you this evening?
Hello, am I on?
You are on.
Okay, Pam, it's Pam in BC. Okay, I have to tell you, I really admire Rodney for coming on and saying what he had to say, and I think it's going to be very therapeutic for him. And, some people say, oh, let go of things, but no, sometimes God puts you into a calling. And I think he's fulfilling his calling. And I just want to say to Rodney, go for it, keep going, because and don't get dissuaded. He's so strong to come on there tonight. He's got strong inner character, Rick, and I want to tell you something, because I'd love to get in touch with him, because something happened to me a few years ago, and it was the late 90s, and there was a murder case here where the longshoremen found a woman's body, a torso, in the ocean, and she was wrapped in a shower curtain, and then all of a sudden, they were seriously looking for who did this, and it was all over the news for a couple of months, and they had no leads. And then I actually went on a date with a guy, and he was a murderer. And if he wasn't, and here's how it happened. I went to a Christmas dance. Vancouver used to have this big city Christmas dance, and I went there and I met him, and then he asked me to go to a nightclub around the corner. Well, not too far. So we got in the cab and we went there. And we went into the nightclub, and then I kind of lost track of him because I guess he knew people in there, and he was talking, and I knew that I had to catch a flight at 3 or 4 a.m. to go to Ontario to meet my relatives for Christmas. So I had friends at a local karaoke bar that was next door. So I left because I just couldn't find him, and he just seemed like he didn't have enough attention to spend with me. So I go to the karaoke bar, and I come home 3 weeks later from Ontario, and my best friends say, Pam, that guy you were, who was all over you at the Christmas dance? Well, he was charged with murder, and my employees at my day spa said, oh, he was calling you, and so I called his work, and guess what? He was a Vancouver City policeman, and his name was Brock Graham. And within a couple of years, another article came out about him, and he had been seen in a pub drinking with his social worker. Just within 2 or 3 years. That's our justice system.
Yeah. It's not unusual.
And that is welcome to our justice system. That's it. It's pretty appalling,
to say the least, but it is, it's common.
And I remember Carla Homolka. I was there in Ontario when that was happening. That was around the same time. And I went by the sites where the Frenches used to live. My parents showed me a place, I guess it was in Kitchener-Waterloo area. And that's where I don't know if that's where the murder happened, but I can't remember, but it was all into that whole case. So I followed it closely when I got back. And then it's about 2 or 3 years later, they show her in prison celebrating, and she's in an evening dress, and they're having a gala night in prison, and she's drinking champagne.
Yeah, I remember a lot of media coverage about the soft life that she had when she was in detention.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
And the only thing I can think of is we got to have a lot of people that belong to cults or secret societies that are sitting in our justice system that just are into the same kind of crimes that they are, and that's why they get off so easy.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think that the mentality or the ideology has for too long been too liberal, too progressive, and too focused on the needs and rehabilitation of offenders. The focus, going back to the 60s, was focused on rehabilitation instead of punishment. And this is where it has led us.
Those laws? Who approves those laws? Think about it.
Politicians.
Mm-hmm.
They draft the legislation and they come up with the recommended sentences and so on. And then through precedent, sentences are dictated, and then the justice system itself, through direction from the federal and provincial governments, depending on what kind of crimes you're talking about, then those sentences are handed down and enforced. And when you have a system that is focused on rehabilitation, they try to find ways to reintegrate people into society. And it isn't just the justice system, it also, that sort of philosophy extended over into, the decision to shut down what people would commonly refer to as psychiatric hospitals. And they took those people and basically shut the hospitals down. They deemed them to be cruel places, and they put all those people out onto the streets. And
yeah, I remember that.
And we still have police dealing with that exact problem today. So you have a lot of people with mental illness out in the community, just out on the street, some of them not on their meds, difficulty just coping day to day, and they get into trouble over and over and over and over again. And, a large percentage of the repeat customers through the court systems made up of exactly that population. So those are the kinds of issues that we face. And a lot of the crime that we see being committed is committed by people who have mental health issues or drug addiction. And the government has chosen to kind of ignore the problem, thrust them out onto the street, not give them the supports that they need, say that they're doing it because they're being compassionate, and it creates a huge social problem. And then they burden police with that social problem and the communities. In fact, right here in my neighborhood, I can tell you, we live in a fairly quiet suburb, but if you go about, 4 blocks over to the sort of the main street that feeds, the main traffic artery that feeds this neighborhood, there are some hotels, and they use those as halfway houses, and they are entirely, populated or occupied by people who have been in jail, or people with all kinds of, drug addictions, mental health issues, the exact people that I'm talking about. A lot of them have been released from jail, and they're now living at these hotels. It's been that way for quite a few years. So, just the other day, where normally there's hardly anybody around these streets. I live in a little cul-de-sac and there's nobody on my street, but I walked over to the Superbox mailbox and, there were some people from the, people from the hotel just sitting there by the mailbox, nothing else to do. Kind of loitering over there, right? Like it's, with their shopping cart and all of their belongings in the shopping cart. And this is like a block from my house, half a block from my house, where normally I would never have seen that before. I was just talking 2 nights ago to a business owner in downtown, this downtown. I'm thinking I might do actually a whole story about this, but when I moved to this town, there was no homelessness. There were no homeless people here. There was none of this. And now it's a huge problem just in this small town that I live in. It's a problem for all the businesses down there. Businesses are leaving the downtown area. There's vandalism, burglaries, thefts, violence at night. I guess at nighttime it turns into a real circus in the downtown area where all these homeless people are now living, right? Because a lot of them have been pressed in from bigger cities and they've set up social supports for them here, but they're not adequate. So they get some of what they need. Anyway, you're getting the picture, right? This is socialism and neoliberal wokeism turned into a cancer on our society.
Yeah, have you seen that video, Canada is Dying? It's all over. Over the internet. Anyway,
I watched some of it. Yeah,
they had the mayor of Nanaimo on there, and we're really having a problem here because the same thing is happening, and people. There was one guy who was stabbed an old man just for his wallet. That was about 2018 or 19, and he got apprehended, but he was back out on the streets 2 weeks later on bail.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of compassion for people who are homeless or people who have mental health issues or even people with drug addictions. I have a lot of compassion. I say, though, that we need to get them proper support so that they don't fall between the cracks, so that they don't find themselves in such a desperate situation that they have to go steal food or steal other items that they then pawn or do whatever they have to do to turn into cash to support their drug addictions or whatever problems they have, right? We need to get them
look at all the money. Look at all the money that we give to other countries, and we don't even take care of our own.
That's exactly right.
That's the problem, and look at all the money we give to war.
Yeah. And the solution is not simply to just say, well, if you're homeless, we'll build you a house. No, you have to get to the core of the problem, get to the root of the problem, and treat the social issues and give those people the support that they need so that they can get clean, so that they can get on track, so that they can, get their life in order. And, there's some people in town that work toward doing that here. They're good organizations, some really good people, but the problem has become too large.
Oh, yeah. I was volunteering at the Salvation Army, and one of my dearest friends, he was an English guy from England, and he used to work there. Well, he's back now, but he was we had a little window where you could come in, walk in, a little section that was different from the kitchen, and people could walk in and just pick up a loaf of bread or, whatever extra baked goods we had. And so every morning we'd stack these shelves up. So he was stacking these shelves up, and then we had to take certain things off that were stale at night. So he's going through what's stale at night and reloading the good stuff. And then this guy, the door is locked because it's past hours, right, of when they can go in there. And so what does this guy do, this homeless guy? He smashes the window. I don't know what he used. But anyways, a big chunk of glass went into my friend's head. And he was in the hospital and on leave for over a year just because this homeless guy did that. These people aren't even thankful that they're being fed. They got to be taught what gratitude is. here's people volunteering at the Salvation Army to feed them, and they're trying to kill them. Some of them, you know, because they're so out to lunch, and they're on drugs. It's a real social problem, but you know. But then my point is this too: there's a big feeling for capital punishment going around because, you know, all the tax dollars that we spend on keeping people in prison, and then they get treated, you know, pretty good. Some of them in prisons, other ones don't, but certain ones do, and then they get let out, and they go back to court. Because, you know, somebody, let's say Bernardo gets out and he gets assaulted by someone. Now that goes back to court, and then the lawyers make more money. Or let's say Bernardo kills another person. You know, he gets out, kills another person. Well, the lawyers make more money. It's all about, seems to be the court system, because everybody, anytime anything goes into the court, that's when the government makes a lot of money. The lawyers make money, but the government has court fees, and they make a lot of money too. So it's like a revolving door. They keep wanting to make money off of people's suffering.
Well, I don't think the government makes any money off the court system.
Well, yeah, they do. You have to, when you go to court, if you go to court, your lawyer will break down the fees on your bill, and they'll show the money that's going to the government right on your bill.
Well, there may be in civil matters, but not so much in criminal. I mean, if there's a
no, that's civil matter. Well, no, those are local.
The government doesn't make any money by putting someone on trial for a murder charge. Who would they get the money from?
Yeah, the taxpayer.
They just no, they don't charge.
The taxpayer pays for the building.
Yeah,
it
costs the government money. They have to pay the crown. They have to pay the judge. They have to pay the stenographer. They have to pay all the staff, the guards, the whole system. They pay. They don't make any money off criminal cases like that. That's not true. Sorry, it's just not. It's just a procedural thing, but it's not a big deal. Anyway, we're going to move on. I appreciate the call tonight, Pam.
Okay.
Talk to Dragon. Thank you very much. Good points tonight.
Take care.
Bro. Thank you. Okay, here's Dragon.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up, Maverick?
Well,
how are you tonight?
I am okay. How are you, sir?
Well, doing great, actually. About homelessness. Well, the problem comes into factor, I would say. First one is with probably the governmental and what's so on corruption that goes on around, okay? Because what you have is people that will build actually some building, not finishing them, and that will create some inflation and some own crisis, first of all. Second of all, you got also the people with low income that doesn't have any place much. And the places that they could build, well, the people around doesn't want them around. So this comes with another factor, if you will. So, and you got some people that will live with some friends and stuff like that, but will have some problems and get probably kicked in some, you know, in some bad places, and you don't want them to get say on the street, but they get there anyway. So that was what I was thinking about the homelessness problem.
Okay, I think I'm following you. You're just saying that people don't want it in their backyard, like if there's a shelter or a facility for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for example, there's a project for low-income apartments, right?
Yeah.
Where people will probably pay like 25% of their income.
Yeah.
So that's project that would work if people around would not say like, well, these places bring those kind of people or whatever, and be picky on the people that it comes with. I mean, low incomes comes with many kind of people, and I mean, it's sad that some people have to pay for others' mistake, if you will. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's. I hear you. I'm not sure exactly how to respond, but there's truth in what you're saying.
Well, it was just an idea about the what the other caller have said. So.
Okay.
It kind of touched the chord somewhere.
Any other thoughts on anything tonight, Dragon?
No, sir. I wanted just to put that into the mind of people. So don't be picky on what's going on around.
Can you see the screen right now that I have up or not?
Right now, no. Should I?
Well, if you can, I just was going to ask you a question about what I have on the screen, and this is live shot out of New York. I don't think it's actually live right now, but this is showing the haze in the air. And
well, I'm bringing it up, actually.
You know, I'm suspicious of some of what I'm seeing on social media and mainstream media and on politicians' social media posts, because this is live, what was a live cam shot of the skyline of New York showing the haze. Okay. So this is obviously just straight up, not altered, just raw footage off the camera. And then I look at this. And when I saw some of these pictures, I was like, I'm thinking this is BS. So now, not what I'm showing you right now, but you look at what I'm about to show you. And you give me yours. Hang on a second here. I have to bring you back up. So it's so difficult to do this. Hang on okay, I'm on the wrong tab. Now I have to come over here to this tab.
Sorry, we have some difficulty.
I am going to. Oh, man, here we go. Okay. Now, take that picture down. And I'm going to put these photos up. Now, you saw how that looked, right? Now, look at this.
Yep.
This is from Gerald Butts, who is, an advisor to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And, of course, these guys are trying to push the whole climate change agenda. Now, look at that photograph. This is Toronto. I believe it's Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
No, maybe not. This might be New York as well. Get used to that orange, he says. It's the Pantone of the century. Okay, I'm calling BS. The reason I'm saying that is look at the color of that. You tell me. I'm calling it out right now. That was photoshopped, or there's a filter applied to that to make it look orangey yellow. Because I just showed you like a standard video shot, not altered, no color balance, no filters, no BS, straight live cam shot, aerial of the skyline of New York City. And I'm seeing all these photos on media, mainstream media, especially tonight, where it's got this orange tinge to it. And I'm telling you that these guys are altering the photos. They're throwing them into Photoshop or some other photo editing program, and they are applying a filter to make everything orange to scare the living crap out of people. I'm telling you. Look at this. Okay? Because I know how to edit photos in Photoshop. And if you shoot in RAW, you can bring out highlights. You can change the colors of the sky. You can do all kinds of funky stuff. I'm sorry, but you see the orange tinge even? Some of it's kind of a crappy job, actually, what they're doing, because they're applying the orange tinge. The orange tinge is on other things, not just the sky.
Yep.
Now, that's an old shot from 2019. That's at night, so everything would look oranger. I'm sorry, but I keep seeing pictures like this orange. Everything's turned orange. Like, look, see, it's not just the sky. See the buildings have the orange tinge. That's so poorly done that filter is applied to the whole photo, including physical objects in the foreground. No, 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 no. And then now compare that to this live shot. Let's take a look at the live shot now.
Something's wrong here.
Okay, I'm going to pull you back up. I have to find the right tab. Not that one. I want to go here. I have to find, there it is there. Okay, we're going to go back now to that live cam shot. Earth cam, New York City. Now you see, is that all orange and yellow? I see haze, but it's not all orange and yellow.
Yep. No, it's looked pretty much artificial intelligence created.
No, it's not AI. That's just manipulation in a photo editing program where they've adjusted the color balance, saturation, hue. They've created an orange filter. That's BS.
Basically a Photoshop type.
Yeah, it's BS. Just to make it look worse than it is. I'm telling you, man.
And even the one in Australia, like with the kangaroos, looks even more realistic than the others. So,
yeah, I'm telling you. Like, look, here's the CTV news site. Same thing again. And I'm telling you, these photos have been manipulated. It's not realistic. This is why I get so. I could tell you other stories about what I've seen over the years from media too that drove me crazy. I don't want that one. I want this one, Rick. Here we are. Okay. Gonna go here now. This is other mainstream media shots. Okay, here's the CTV site. See that picture? See, it's all yellow and orange. Now, if I'm wrong, you know, you call me out on it, folks, and show me that that's what it's really like in downtown Toronto today, or I think that's Toronto. Or is that New York? I don't know. There's a bunch of photos. Can you still see that on the screen? Yeah. So scroll down. That's all yellow. Now see that one. There it is there, but that's not yellow. That's not yellow. There's a little bit of a tan to that one. I'd say that's not probably manipulated. Can't tell about that. Now that's not yellow. That's not yellow. But that one's definitely got that tint to it to make it look like old film even, you know? And that's shot with a very wide angle lens. That's why it's kind of distorted. And then that's also in Photoshop. I can tell you because I've got experience with photography. That was shot with a wide angle lens. And then in Photoshop, they flattened it back out to take the distortion off the edges. And you get that kind of a broad but flattened look. And they've added a tint to that to enhance it and make it look more dramatic. I don't like that kind of stuff when it comes to news coverage. And the reason is it's not real. And so it sort of manipulates people's perception of what is going on out there. I can tell you when I was down in the States at a television station, I won't tell you which one, but it was in Texas. This was years ago. And I was down touring the station. I met with the news director and one of the main news producers. And while I was touring the station, it was during the Iraq War. And I was in a production studio where they were editing video, and they had a graphics guy in there. They were making up a slide for the 6 p.m. news that night. And they had a picture of a soldier, but the soldier was wearing an army helmet that was all green and camouflage. And the guy was photoshopping it to make it look tan so that it would look like it was a soldier who was in the Middle East. Because, of course, when they were there, they were wearing tan uniforms and tan camouflage, not green, because they weren't in the jungle, right? So he was taking this old photo and manipulating it. And I didn't say anything because it wasn't my newsroom. It wasn't my station. I didn't work there. I was just touring. But I was I was opposed to things like that because that's manipulating the truth. I didn't like it. And even though it may seem harmless to them to take something like that and make it appear as though it's like, oh, it's just harmless. We're just changing the colors and the camo
Green.
pattern, right? But no, that's not the real thing. Like that's not actually the Desert Storm soldier. That's some guy from some other place, somewhere else in the world, a different conflict. And you know what I'm saying? I just didn't like the manipulation of the photo to just suit the purpose at the time. Maybe it just wasn't a big deal, but I think it's a big deal when it comes to news and information. It's not adequate. It's not proper to manipulate the truth and turn something into something like that when it's news, right? It's not a movie. It's not a television show. This is supposed to be factual information. You're supposed to be getting people accurate information and accurate portrayals so that people can make good decisions, accurate decisions. And if you are putting tints on photographs like that, that is only done to manipulate people's perception of reality and turn it into something more than or less than or something other than it really is. It's not a realistic depiction. And I'm opposed to that. I think that you need to be showing stuff in the most realistic frame possible so people get the most accurate information visually, as well as, through what is said or what is read, what is heard, what is seen.
Right? Because what's factual or visual actually related, it goes on the limits of propaganda.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And, it looks more dramatic, so it might get them more clicks or more ratings, more views. And, but it also scares people if it's more dramatic like that. I mean, if you really want to scare people, why don't you put a big Godzilla foot about to crush the big building there or something too, man? Like, while you're at it, Photoshop that in, or have a couple of fighter jets or a bomber over top. Like, I mean, how far do you want to go? Like, it's not real anymore when you're kind of manipulating it. Not that a photograph is never actually an actual realistic. It's a frame in a moment of time. It's a perspective from one angle. It's so many different things. And a photograph in itself, even if it's just shot with like neutral color balance, it is a snapshot in of just a moment in time, frozen. Right. And even that can be misleading sometimes, depending on what's depicted in it, if there's no context given. But when you take something and then manipulate it to change the context or change the perception, I think get dangerous. I don't like it. And this is a mainstream media photograph that's being distributed through wire service tonight all over the world. And I'm seriously skeptical that, in New York City tonight, or even today, that it was really that color. And then you've got, a major government official or advisor to the prime minister, like Gerald Butts, telling people that we better get used to the orange and, yellow sky. It's the new normal for the color of the sky. I don't think it's even real. But maybe I'm wrong. Anyway.
Well, today it was gray as hell, so.
Gray, yes.
That it wasn't orange at all.
Yeah, and maybe at sunset, it'll pick up the hue of the sunset, and I could see, picking up the orange from the sun. But I'm not buying it. Not buying it. Especially when, this is just so convenient for them to push their climate change agenda, isn't it? So let's
they
scare.
They take it on the moment where it's probably arranged for about 5 minutes, and then they say, well, this is coming.
So
yeah,
I know it's bad.
My friend.
Yeah, I know it's bad, but when it comes to news, I want accuracy, proper context, and it's time for us to move on, Dragon, because we have other calls in the queue, my friend. Thank you.
Have a good one, my friend.
You too, sir.
Take care.
Okay, who do we have on the line now? Go ahead.
Oh, it might be me, Patrice.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Well, hi. I didn't give my name. I just gave why I was calling. Sorry.
It's okay.
I have talked to you before. I totally agree with you. Today was quite funny, actually. I kind of laughed as much as I could today over it all. When I turned CNN this morning, which I do quite regularly because I like to hear what they have to say. I like to see what they're putting out there. I don't believe a word they say, but I love to see what they're saying. Anyways, it was quite funny today to watch, just as you're showing the pictures and the orange and stuff like that. And Jake Tapper came on and he was pushing it like breaking news, CNN, New York is under this terrible smog alert. And it's the Canadian smoke. And so it's almost like, I don't know, I couldn't stop laughing because now it's the Canadian smoke that's come down to New York. What has it got to do with the Canadian smoke? It has to do with the fact there's fires in Nova Scotia. You don't need to label it the Canadian smoke. It's almost like, oh my God, these Canadians are now killing us.
That's
and
right.
It's now propaganda against let's fight the Canadians, I mean, it's really quite weird the way CNN was representing the smog. And then they brought up a chart. And I forget where number one in the world is the worst smog and air quality in the world was, but it was obviously somewhere in Asia. But New York was number 2. And Toronto was number 3. And I live in Toronto. So, yeah, granted, yesterday I could smell the wood stuff, and it was smoggy yesterday. And I'm asthmatic. But I didn't find it that bad. I could smell smoke, and I was like, oh, God, it feels like I'm just by a wood campfire, and it's really a lovely smell. And I really didn't think much about it, but it was kind of like, oh, this smells lovely, because I did kind of like the smell. But at the end of the day, I'm not out jogging today, so it's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. But today, it's like I can see the sky again, and now they're labeling Toronto as 3rd in the world, and New York is 2nd, and I forget. Some Asian place was number 1. Yeah. And it's like we're all supposed to be terrified. And when it comes on breaking news on CNN, that's going to terrify the normies. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like people that don't realize that we're all being brainwashed.
Yep.
And it is all about climate change.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, like as much as I wish I could get out there and pound the heads out of everybody that doesn't understand what's truly going on, I can't. I can only do what I can do as you and everybody else that is trying to wake people up. But it's so frustrating because they're getting away with it. And it's so hard to be able to say to people, why are you laughing today when we're under this terrible thing? And the sky's turned orange. It's nothing. And fortunately, we've had a wonderful breeze. And that's why Toronto really isn't that bad, because there has been a lovely breeze. And the breeze has blown a lot of the smoke away. And it's not that bad. But they closed down the bloody schools from recreations and keeping the kids inside. And
really? Really?
Call them that?
Oh, my God. Okay.
Oh, yeah. They're closing down. There's no recreation. The kids can't go out on recess. There's no sports outside. Keep the kids inside. And that's what do you call this idiot Sanjay, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, right?
Yeah.
You know that, whatever his freaking doctrinism is. I don't have a clue, but the guy's a freaking mental case. Anyways, he comes on and he's saying, well, the only way we can do this and fix this up is like, the children are the ones that are the worst, and they need to be masked. And the elderly, they should not be outside. And you need to go check on your elderly. And people with asthma, respiratory or heart patients, they should be protecting themselves with masks, blah, 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 blah. Anyway,
here we go with the masks again. Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. Honestly, I couldn't help but laugh, because if I didn't, I was going to end up screaming. Because what else can you do? It's one emotion to the other. Laugh about it or go, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
So, you have to have some kind of way of dealing with it where your brain, you don't want to knock your brain against the wall, but you have to release the emotion of it all,
Yeah.
Anyways, that was what I wanted to say.
Thank you. I appreciate the call. I want to smash my head against the wall too, but it's not because I'm afraid that we're going to die in a yellow haze of toxic smoke from the burning forests. I'm really more afraid of the mainstream media and also other people online who have lost their minds one way or the other. And there's all this fear mongering going on various sides by people who have, an axe to grind or an agenda to promote or whatever their motivations might be. I'm not sure necessarily, but I see it for what it is. And a lot of it is, it's exactly that. It's fear mongering and exaggeration and manipulation. And I'm tired.
Yeah. And at the same time, they were bringing on other professionals. Another one who was, I don't know, a respiratory person. And this female specialist, she was being asked by another person on CNN, a female reporter on CNN. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, she was being asked, the reporter asked her, what do you suggest people should do? Oh, well, wear a mask, just like Sanjay Gupta said, wear a mask, blah, blah, blah. And she says, what about the children? Oh, well, the children now, masks don't work for children. This is what this specialist said. Masks don't work for children. Oh, so because they were trying to give off wear the N95 or the KN95 because of the smog that's going around. And because they were also saying that when the smog goes in, you can feel it in your lungs, but it just doesn't stay in your lungs. It goes into your bloodstream.
Uh-huh.
Now, what the frick are they trying to say about that, right? Like, okay, it doesn't stay in your lungs. It actually can penetrate into your bloodstream. Well, that's not a very nice thing to hear, right? That's going to scare the heck out of a lot of people.
Yeah.
But that's where they're trying to hype it up. And then this one particular specialist, when asked about the children, well, a KN95 masks don't work for children because they weren't ever developed properly small enough to fit a child's face. So they aren't really protected from it. Now, why is this person saying that when they were shoving masks on the kids for 2 bloody years at school?
That's right. Yeah.
And saying that the kids had to wear these flipping masks when there's no protection over the mask because they're not fitted towards a child's face to begin with. So it's really weird how the truth is all coming out now and they're all trying to protect themselves, right?
Oh, man.
The little bloody assholes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not going to lose any sleep over the yellow doom. I'm going to sleep well tonight. I'm not afraid of the yellow doom.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, they were making reference to what movie was it? Blade Runner or something? Oh, it's not a pop.
Yeah.
Blade Runner or something. Like they're really trying to push this. That is almost like, do you think we're stupid?
Yeah, they do.
Or are
yeah,
people
they do.
Stupid? Like maybe
people are
so drugged up now with all the parasites in our foods that we've all become brain dead.
It's
something.
Worse than that. I think some people are addicted to the fear. They want it. They feed off it.
Fear is addictive. That's the thing. If you keep on that train wreck of fear, you just keep going until you hit the wall, and then it's like, oh, you wake up. Yeah. You realize you got to get off that train ride, because it feeds fear feeds fear. Mm-hmm. It's not until you find a person that's really kind of happy and cheery and full of positiveness that you go, oh my gosh, what planet did you come from? Because it's not normal anymore to be happy and cheery and funny and to actually look at life as great. Everybody's living life like, oh my gosh, what am I going to deal with today? Should I even get out of bed? Like, it's such a funny world we live in.
Yeah, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through it. One way or another, these fires will be extinguished in time. We will survive. It's all right. We're going to be okay. And we will not be consumed by the yellow ooze in the atmosphere. It's not going to eat your brain. It's not going to kill you. We're going to be okay.
No, it's not. And having said that, I do want to touch base with everyone on in the Maverick family. Be prepared for what's coming out about Mel Gibson. I've been following him for a long time, and I've always liked him, but didn't like him after I found out about certain things that he did years and years ago, or said, I should say. But there's going to be a lot coming out about him, and it has to do with child trafficking. It has to do with what's been going on and how our world is corrupt from the evil, satanic pedophiles. Oh gosh, I shouldn't say that. I'm so sorry. I don't want to get your child.
No, that's okay. No, it's all right.
I think I said the wrong thing.
Well,
I didn't mean to say
it's
that.
okay.
I should have coded it. I'm so sorry.
No, I think you're still
be
okay.
prepared.
I think you're okay.
Oh gosh.
Well, we'll see what happens. I don't know
so
what the
I don't
story is with Mr. Gibson. I know that he had been raked over the coals for some comments that people said were anti-Semitic in the past. But I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, but now my radar is up, so I'll be looking for that.
Yeah, so great things are going to be coming out. He's involved right now. Gosh, the person's name has passed me. He's an ex-CIA. He's been doing this work on the child stuff. And it's really great because it's uplifted my heart so much. Oh, I don't want to start crying because it's been my passion. And so anyways, stuff's going to come out about him. Don't believe a word. There's a documentary coming out. It's going to be a 4-series documentary that it will actually, hopefully it'll get out into the masses. That will be, he's a director, Mel is, and we're all going to see what's really been going on. And if I'm not mistaken, it started in Ukraine. Can I say that without having you been?
Well, if you're not, if in doubt, leave it out and don't do it again, because if you're in doubt, it's too late now because you just said it.
Oh,
right. There's no delay.
Oh, God.
So
You're
if you've
right.
said it, you've said it.
I don't know what.
Don't ask if you can say it, because as soon as you ask, you said it.
I shouldn't.
Anyway, let's move on. I appreciate the call, and yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in. Looking forward to the next one. And yeah,
right,
folks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Oops. Hang on here a second. I didn't mean to click that button. Give me just a second. I'll be right back. I need to fix something because I clicked something I shouldn't have clicked. Hang on.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow. Maybe too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back. And if you are inclined, you can support the channel by donating at freedomreporters.com. That takes you to the PayPal page where you can make a donation. You can also donate at maverickdonations.com. You know, I guess it's in my blood to try and sort of be balanced and try to be neutral about things. And I'm grateful for people supporting free speech here and supporting a variety of views and supporting this channel, even though sometimes I'm not sitting here cheerleading every night for one side or another, but I'm trying to pursue actual truth, regardless of where that truth might land on a political spectrum or on an issue. People tend to become impassioned about causes, movements, activism. And to some degree, I guess you could say I'm an activist, but I'm an activist insofar as I'm here to promote and preserve free speech, freedom of media, and that's what this platform is about. It's about the pursuit of truth. That's why I'm so grateful tonight for Mr. Stafford joining us here on the program. It was an important interview. His perspective, I think, is extremely important because it was, in fact, an update on a victim impact statement from someone who has suffered a horrific loss. And it's an illustration of what has really gone wrong with our justice system, and that is the truth. And action is needed on that front. And that's why this platform continues to be important. And I think what we're doing today with this platform, and this is just my opinion, I think it's important because there are so few media outlets or online media channels, live streamers doing anything like what we're doing, actually, because so few actually are trying to even provide balance. They're picking a side. And I will, come down sometimes on a side when I make an editorial comment, but I'm not here just to cheerlead. I'm here to pursue truth and freedom of speech and freedom of media. Thank you for supporting the channel for those reasons, because I think that is really where journalism is. That's what journalism is supposed to be. That's journalism at its best, I think. And that's why I am open to having people with a wide range of views appear on the program. And I may not agree with many of the people who appear on this show, but I always welcome the diversity of opinion, the diversity of thought. That too gets us closer to the truth. So thank you for all of that. Please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. And if you do subscribe on YouTube, please hit the notification bell, ring the bell, because the subscription doesn't really mean much if you don't do that. They don't send out a notification to let you know that new videos have been published unless you click the bell as well. So please do that. Please share and let people know what we're doing here. Share the channel, share the videos, share the word, spread it far and wide. It would really help the channel a lot, especially over on Facebook. Share, share, share. And of course, over on Rumble, if you could subscribe there, that would be extremely helpful as well. We have 2 channels on Rumble. If you find them both, please subscribe to both. It'll help immensely, especially on the new channel where we have to reach a certain number of people to reach certain levels of status on the Rumble platform. And, we pay a monthly fee to be on Rumble, to do what we do there. We have other expenses, and that's what the money is used for. It's to keep this channel running. So thank you again for those of you who have supported this channel in the past and continue to do so moving forward. Greatly, greatly appreciated. That being said, that gets us to 8:40 p.m. on this 7th day of June, 2023. I appreciate you guys joining us here, and we are going to wrap it up for tonight. I will be back tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just a reminder that this is the Maverick News Channel, where we have the antivirus programs for your mind.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.